Hey everybody, we're back with Gabriel Knight 1 and we are at day 2 and this day is gonna be considerably longer than day 1 and we will start off with reading the newspaper.
Times dated June 19th, 1993. A front-page article describes the most recent of the Voodoo Murders. Gabriel scans it but learns nothing new. The article reiterates that the voodoo aspect of the crime is faked. Gabriel shivers. It looked real enough to him. Elsewhere, there's an article about the history of Jackson Square, called the Plaza d'Armes under French rule. It was used for executions, firing squads, hangings, even impalement and breaking on the wheel. Yikes! Of course, these days, it's mostly a hangout for tourists, street musicians, and local artists. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Chances of a dark star rising on this day. Do not trust your instincts.
I feel a dark star rising, all right. Rawr.
Yeah, breaking on the wheel. I read about that some time ago. It was pretty common during the Reformation wars in Europe during the 17th century. They would basically strap you onto a wheel, and then they would use a hammer or something else and break all your bones in your joints, and then they would just leave you to die. So that sounds great, doesn't it? Alright, let's read the newspaper. So it's Saturday, June 19th, 1993. A walk through Jackson Square. Tourists and residents alike love Jackson Square. The French Quarter Park is all thing to all people. It's a respite from the heat, a spot for a picnic lunch, a place to walk the dog or sell one's artistic talents. You can lounge on the grass and enjoy a rendition of Saints in true Nola style any day of the week. I guess that's like when the Saints go marching in. I think we heard that at Jackson Square. If you know the history of Jackson Square, is a bloody one called La Plaza d'Armes, d'Armas. I don't know, I don't speak French. Under French rule, it was used for public executions, firing squads, hangings, even impalement and breaking on the wheel. It's a reminder that the dark side of New Orleans is never far away. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to Grace and see if she's done her research.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
All right. Do you have any messages for me?
Do you have messages for me?
Nope, none right now.
Oh, she told us about the research, right? At the end of last episode. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Let's ask her about snakes. We haven't done that.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Very funny. I mean real snakes, you know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
Mm-hmm. I know very little about reptiles of any kind, and prefer to keep it that way. I think there's a book on snakes around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we didn't get any messages. We asked about herself some time ago.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
Okay, we've done that.
I can't think of anything.
Let's exit. Alright, let's see if we have a book about snakes. I think we do. We saw one, right? World of Snakes.
It's a book about the world of snakes.
Hey, that's interesting. Snakes can sense their prey by vibration.
Did you know that medieval legends about dragons and giant worms are actually based on snakes? You know, dragons, devils, sea monsters. They've always been associated with snakes.
Grace, get alive.
Okay, it says, the perfect hunter. Snakes can hunt in total darkness. They can use their sight to find their prey, but they also hunt by vibration. They are attracted to vibrations, hoping for an easy meal. They are often drawn to motors and machines for this reason. Interesting. Okay, let's close that. And let's go to the bedroom. We haven't seen that one yet. Oh, it looks great, doesn't it? Looks pretty tidy. I've seen worse. And we have the bathroom, but there's something in the bathroom cabinet that we want to pick up.
I'll take this hair gel. You never know when you'll need a touch-up.
True. There's a lot of gimmicky stuff in here. But we'll have a lot of time to do that later on in the series, so I won't do that now. We can look at some stuff. Maybe I'll look at half of it now. Why not?
A little cold bubbly and brie cheese is about all Gabriel's fridge ever has in it.
That's nice. He hides behind the wall.
Gabriel, shut that refrigerator, please. Oh, I can smell it from here.
Women.
Oh, let's look at the left side of the room.
The typewriter is beginning to accumulate cobwebs.
Should I feel guilty? Nah.
The typewriter is too heavy to lug around.
Can't. Writer's block.
Okay.
Gabriel likes subdued lighting in his studio.
I'll just leave it on.
Okay, bills.
Bills from last Christmas gathered dust on the floor. Gabriel couldn't pay those bills when they were due, and he can't pay them now.
Alright,
The closet is loaded with white t-shirts. There's one black button-down for those fancy occasions.
we can actually take that. So let's take it.
I might be able to use this black shirt.
So we got the black t-shirt, and it gave us some points.
An abundance of white t-shirts.
All my clothes look the same, so why change them?
Alright, we got the lion picture here.
Let sleeping lions lie. I got that cheap at a garage sale. Always had a thing for lions.
Got some more symbolism. And there's one thing, we can actually listen to stuff on the radio. Maybe we should do that now, why not? It takes about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes to go through everything, so let's do that.
The Creole Grandams will hold their annual Gardenia Festival and Tea this coming Tuesday at the Sons of Burgundy Hall. Admission is free. At Giant Discount Bookstore, we discount every title 50%. When you see our selection and prices, you'll never want to shop with those little guys again. You're listening to KLEB in Nolens, where we play the best music 24 hours a day.
I want you to take hold of your prayer clothes. Better yet, take hold of your radio, and let's do a miracle. But first, I want to talk about doing what's right. Those of you who are out there listening to these radio waves of comfort, you know what I'm talking about. Every day, this program reaches out into the darkness and pulls lost souls from the grasp of the devil himself. Oh, but now I don't have to tell you that the Lord's work does not come cheap, my friends. So I want you to get up right now. Take out an envelope, fill it with whatever you can, and send it today. We both know that's doing what's right. I ask you, my friends, have you done your share today? Or are you being carried by those dedicated souls who support this ministry with their generous gifts and offerings? Remember, my friends, faith that costs nothing does nothing. Simply send your gifts of faith to Reverend Bob, and your name will be blessed. Hallelujah! That's it for this week, friends. Enjoy the wonderful, wonderful music, and may God watch over you.
Do you have men problems? Someone put a hex on you? Call Sister Cross. Through the power of love and the Lord Jesus Christ, she can fix what's ailing you. At Giant Discount Bookstore,
Okay, that's everything.
Every title 50%.
Missed that beginning. Yeah, a faith that costs nothing, it does nothing. Great. So we have done everything. Now we can look at the painting. I don't think we have done that.
No, no. 3 snakes in a skull. Gabriel's father painted it.
What a wacky offbeat kind of guy Daddy was.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna leave the place now. Using that quick action map button. So we can actually either go to the Dixieland Drugstore, Voodoo Museum, or the police station. I want to do all of it in this part. Where do we start? Good question. Let's go to the Dixieland Drugstore.
Hello? Huh?
Bonjour, Monsieur Walker.
Bienvenue, Madame Casano. Comment ça va? How you be feeling today?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Walker. I'm certain someone's buried a sleep knot bag somewhere near my steps. I haven't slept a wink, not in weeks.
Now, don't that beat all? I'll need some easy night candles then, huh?
Do you think that would help? I do hope you're right. I said 3 rosaries this morning for Our Lady's intervention.
Rosary good, sure enough, but you buying them candles too, boy, you gonna whip any no-sleep gree-gree, I tell you for sure.
Very well, Mr. Walker. Put them on my account and send them around to my house. Oh, and there's another thing. I didn't catch her at it, but I know. Mrs. Lefebvre put stomachache powder in my tea at the last meeting of the Creole Grand Dame. I've been in misery.
Now, you put 9 pinheads up in a little box. Add a pinch of graveyard dust. Put it up under her front post step. That'll turn the trick back on Miss Lefebvre, and she be the one with the bellyache. I got the pins of dust right here if you want them.
If the Blessed Virgin will grant me her protection, I'll be safe from these practitioners of evil.
Oui, madame. Though, don't hurt to be proactive neither now, does it?
Naturellement, monsieur. Merci beaucoup.
Mais non, madame. It's nothing. Au revoir.
Au revoir, Monsieur Walker.
Alright, that was an interesting conversation. So basically, voodoo is like magic and Christianity mixed up. I didn't know that. So let's have a look around before we talk to him. And let's start on this side.
It's a mannequin wearing a crocodile mask. There's no room for him in the bookstore. The mask appears to be made from a real crocodile head. To get the mask, Gabriel would have to buy it.
Alright, poster.
The poster advertises a voodoo play from last fall. Root bags, curio boxes, and magic candles. Sold as curios only. We cannot guarantee results.
Okay.
The Dixieland Drugstore is crammed from top to bottom with strange merchandise, some or all of which seem to be related to the practice of voodoo. The Dixieland Drugstore has a rather terrifying way of dealing with shoplifters.
Okay, it says steal from us and the police won't be the only thing you're on your trail. Okay.
The sign says, Special St. John's Eve Lagnia. Free bottle of Lover Come Back to Me oil, or Master Gambling oil with every purchase over $50.
Lagniappe. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means. A little something extra.
Alright, well. Lagniappe. Bowls. Should we look at the bowls?
Garlic, cloves, and other dried goods and spices are collected in the bowls.
I know where to come if I ever have a vampire problem.
Okay, let's look at the register.
It's nearly as old as the one at St. George's.
Alright, and let's talk to Willie.
Hi there. Is this your store?
This the Dixieland Drugstore. and I own it. Me. Name's Walker. Willie Walker.
All right, let's go through the options.
Can you tell me what you know about voodoo?
This is a novelty shop, monsieur.
Do you think I'm stupid? This is a voodoo shop. Look at all this stuff.
These is novelties, curiosities. If people want to think they magic, it's not my concern, you know?
Are you telling me that you own a voodoo shop, but you know nothing about voodoo practices?
Ça n'est pas ça faire blanc.
What does that mean?
It means you should mind your own business, monsieur.
Look, I'm researching voodoo for a book.
I don't have your answers, me. You want to buy something, monsieur?
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
Caprice encore.
What did you say?
Nothing. Them killings have nothing to do with my shop, monsieur.
What do you think of New Orleans?
I live here all my life, me.
What do you think of New Orleans?
If you're not from around here, monsieur, you should sign up for some tours.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It's the biggest night of the year in voodoo.
What goes on exactly?
I couldn't say.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
The only one left is Willie Jr. over there, the old crocodile. He's sort of a mascot now, him.
Do you know anything about snakes?
What kind of snakes?
The kind they use in voodoo?
Pythons, boas, so I've heard.
Really? Do you have one?
Are you crazy? What would I want with a python?
What did you mean when you said caprice encore?
I didn't say that.
You did. I heard you say it.
You heard wrong, monsieur. I said no such thing.
That customer of yours, the little old lady.
Customer?
The woman I saw in here, Madame Casino, you called her.
I don't talk about my customers to men who come in off the street.
It's important that I talk to Madame Casino. You see, I'm doing some research and...
I can't tell you anything about her.
Tell me about yourself.
My name's Willie Walker. I own the place.
How did you get into this kind of business?
Now, why should I discuss my business with you, man?
About Willie Jr. Would you be willing to let him go?
Maybe. For $100.
100? You gotta be kidding.
Me and Willie Jr. are very close now. I couldn't part with him for less.
So Willie Jr. is the crocodile mask, if in case anybody has forgotten.
Would you take 50 for Willie Jr.?
Don't insult me, monsieur. The price is $120.
What? You said you'd sell it for 100 before.
You misheard, monsieur. The price was always $120.
Would you take 50 for Willie Jr.?
Don't insult me, monsieur. The price is 100.
What?
You misheard, monsieur.
Okay, as repeating itself. Do we have any more chat options?
So, this is a voodoo store, huh?
Voodoo? No, man. This is a curio shop. The things you see here from local folklore, none of it real, I tell you for sure.
What about all these magic oils and powders you're selling? Aren't they a part of voodoo?
Read the label, man. We make no claims. Sold as curio only. It mean what it say, no? These are novelties, not voodoo.
All right. So we got everything here. And we can actually leave now. And let's go to the Voodoo Museum.
Welcome, my friend. Hello. I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
Okay, there's a lot of cool stuff in the store, and they have a snake. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And that's the drummer guy from the park, isn't it? What is he doing there? We have a fan, we have a switch. Well, what happens if we press the flip this switch?
Turn that thing off.
Oh, sorry.
We have air conditioning, you see.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. Oh, the snake was acting funny when we did that, so that was that could be something for the future. Let's look at the stuff here.
The Voodoo Shrine is filled with items that both fascinate Gabriel and also make his skin crawl.
Yeah, that is a lot of creepy stuff.
Magenta Moonbeam. Voodoo Inn.
A flyer advertising Magenta Moonbeam, a local Voodoo Inn. Her parlor is on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine.
Interesting.
It wouldn't be much of a voodoo museum without a voodoo doll. This coffin is so small.
Might be a snake coffin. And there are some markings here on the side. These look familiar. And they could be the markings we saw at the crime scene. Okay, what else do we have here? Cross.
Well, that looks sacrilegious. Wonder who that poor bastard was.
Oh, that looks creepy. That mask or that shrink head or whatever it is. Okay, what else do we have here? Wine.
A waste of some perfectly good wine, if you ask me.
Okay, nothing more to see here. Let's have a look at the
Flickering
candles.
candles lend an appropriately spooky atmosphere to the museum.
True.
Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times.
A leather whip hangs from a peg on the wall.
Oh, hurt me.
Let's look at the fan.
Here's a beaten-up old fan in the window. It's silent at the moment.
Alright, can we do anything with
The
it?
fan might
No.
operate, but not in that way.
Alright, let's look at the knife, because that knife looks like our mouse cursor.
Something about the shape of that knife gives Gabriel the creeps.
Our loading mouse cursor, I might add.
Yeah, right.
Have
I'd
to add.
probably cut my own head off with that thing.
You probably would. Okay.
That must be Marie Laveau.
Who is Marie Laveau?
An authentic-looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure. An official voodoo wishing stump. Rub it and make a wish, a card says.
Funny, I say the same thing to women.
Alright, let's look at the wall.
The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as offerings of fruits to the voodoo deities.
Let's have a look at the snake, and after that we're gonna talk to... Oh, what the hell is
A
that?
beaded gourd is on display.
Alright, let's look at the
A
snake.
very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage.
Let's talk to Dr. John.
Could I ask you a few questions?
That is why I am here.
Oh, that's a lot to talk about. Okay, let's start with the first one.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo, or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Let's do the other ones first.
What do you know about the Voodoo Murders?
The killings in the newspaper. I know they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What makes you think the Voodoo Murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate. And for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
So you know nothing about the Voodoo Murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr. Knight. My only possible interest is in how it might affect the public's attitude towards the museum. So far, it has not been an issue. No one has even had the bad taste to bring it up. Until you, that is.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States, as far as I am concerned.
What is it about New Orleans that you so admire?
It has a real culture of its own, Mr. Knight. Amid the horrid blandness that is Americana, New Orleans alone has a voice.
Spoken like a true New Orleanian. What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in Voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before Voodoo came to New Orleans.
Do you know what Caprice and Call means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum snake, Mr. Knight? They are beautiful creatures. Do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Is this snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of the snake, Mr. Knight. But snakes, like the museums, can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I used to have some antique African totem masks, but they were on the point of disintegration, so I removed them.
Are you sure you can't educate me further about animal masks?
Unfortunately, I do not know much about totem masks. The practice was more African than American, and that is not my area of expertise.
Okay, thanks. Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us just say I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reason.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really? I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then let us discuss something else.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion, formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
So how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, A slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight. If only in the form of a communal band. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons, and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances, right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Are you sure you can't tell me anything about voodoo?
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
All right, that was pretty interesting. We were given some historical insight on voodoo. So let's ask about current voodoo.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in the religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I personally am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Tell me about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaux, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Alright, that's good to know. So there'll probably be a new location where we can go. But we're not done here yet. Let's ask a little more about Marie Laveau.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
When the Widow Paris began to practice, there were many voodooians in the city. By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans. The Widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
You sound as though you admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible thing, Mr. Knight. However she achieved it.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
She kept a pet snake, danced with it too. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets for her events to curiosity seekers. She was not above using voodoo any way she could to make money. That is for certain. But if she had been in another line of work, in another age, that would have been interpreted as entrepreneurial genius, rather than a sign of fraudulence.
Hey, you don't need to convince me. I admire anyone that can actually make a living. Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
It was Marie Laveau who defined the voodoo that is truly and uniquely the voodoo of New Orleans. She invented hundreds, if not thousands, of spells, potions, charms, and incantations. These form the basis of the modern practice, not to mention the folk tradition of hoodoo.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
Her daughter, Marie Glapion, took over when Widow Paris got old. Most people thought it was the same Marie Laveau. Both Maries encouraged that point of view. The Widow Paris died in 1881. Marie Glapion had been reigning a long time by then. After the death of the Widow Paris, other voodoo queens surfaced, and by 1890, the cult was fragmented again. Marie Glapion just sort of faded away.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
You have heard everything about Marie Laveau that a layman might expect to understand.
What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the Gris-Gris are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
So how's the museum business?
Those who truly seek to understand are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Sounds about like my shop. So where do you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Do you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean, besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kinds of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? Do you work out, play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No, you just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it. So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
I'll have to remember that.
Zing.
This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
All right, we are done here on this place.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Come back again.
So, we have new crap on the map. We have the cemetery, we have Moonbeam Residence. We finished those two. The next stop would actually be the police station, but we are going to do that in the next part. So I'll see you guys in the next part, and at the beginning of the next part we are going to visit the police station. That was redundant.